Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving into the history of plane crashes at Kathmandu Airport. Stay tuned to learn about these tragic events and their impact. Nestled high amidst the formidable embrace of the Himalayan mountain range, the Kathmandu Valley presents a breathtaking vista, a jewel of human civilization cradled by giants of stone and ice. Yet this very majesty, this dramatic topography that draws souls from across the globe, also poses an undeniable and often unforgiving challenge to those who seek to traverse its skies. Tribhuvan International Airport, the sole international gateway to this ancient kingdom, lies at the heart of this complex arena, a testament to human ingenuity and our relentless desire to connect, yet a place where the elements and the earth itself demand the utmost respect and skill. The story of aviation in Nepal is one of courage, innovation, and at times, profound sorrow. Each flight that navigates the narrow corridors between these towering peaks is a dance with nature, a delicate balance of technology and human expertise. But when that balance is lost, the consequences can be devastating, etching stories of loss into the very fabric of these mountains. Over the decades, this airport, a vital lifeline, has borne witness to moments of triumph, and regrettably, to incidents that have shaken communities both near and far, reminding us of the inherent risks in conquering the skies above such demanding terrain. In this journey we embark upon together, we shall not merely recount statistics or cold facts. Instead, we will explore the human stories behind these events, the environmental factors that played their part, and the enduring quest for safety that arises from the lessons learned in tragedy. We will look back with solemn respect for those affected, seeking to understand the confluence of circumstances that led to these unfortunate moments in aviation history, and how they have shaped the present and future of flying into this remarkable, yet perilous, corner of our world. The mid-20th century heralded a new era for the isolated kingdom of Nepal. Aviation, a fledgling marvel across the globe, promised to unlock the mountain-ringed valley of Kathmandu, connecting it to the wider world in ways previously unimaginable. Gauchar Airport, as Tribhuvan International was then known, was a modest affair, a strip of earth carved into the landscape, representing a bold step into modernity. The aircraft of this pioneering age were themselves marvels of their time, yet they lacked the sophisticated navigational aids and powerful engines that we often take for granted today, making every journey and adventure fraught with inherent uncertainties. It was against this backdrop of burgeoning hope and nascent technology that the first recorded major air accident cast its shadow over Kathmandu's skies. On the 15th of May, 1955, an Indian Airlines Douglas C-47 Skytrain, a venerable workhorse of the skies also known as the DC-3, prepared for its departure. This aircraft, registered VT Cock, was bound for Patna, India, carrying souls full of anticipation, perhaps of reunions, business, or new beginnings. The air would have been filled with the roar of its twin radial engines, a sound synonymous with the dawn of widespread air travel. The departure, however, was to be tragically short-lived. Shortly after lifting off from the runway at Gauchar, something went terribly wrong. The precise details from that distant time can be pieced together from records and eyewitness accounts, painting a picture of a struggle against unseen forces or mechanical failings. The aircraft, laden with its 14 passengers and crew, faltered in its climb, unable to gain the sanctuary of altitude needed to clear the surrounding terrain or to return safely to the aerodrome from which it had just departed. The subsequent crash was swift and devastating. The DC-3, a robust machine forged in the crucible of global conflict and repurposed for peace, succumbed to the unyielding laws of physics and gravity. All 14 individuals aboard perished in the accident, their journey ending abruptly and tragically just moments after it had begun. This event sent ripples of shock through the small aviation community of Nepal and beyond, a stark reminder of the perils that accompanied this new form of transport, especially in such a challenging geographical setting. The investigation that followed, conducted with the tools and knowledge available at the time, would have sought to understand the sequence of events. Was it a sudden mechanical failure, an unexpected shift in weather, or a momentary lapse in the intricate dance between pilot and machine? In these early days of aviation safety science, pinpointing a single cause could be an arduous task, yet every incident provided crucial, albeit painful, lessons for the future of flight operations in this unique environment. This first fatal crash at Kathmandu's airport served as a somber milestone. It underscored the unforgiving nature of the Himalayan foothills, where narrow valleys and unpredictable weather patterns could conspire against even the most experienced aviators. The mountains, ancient and silent witnesses, had claimed their first victims from the air, a profound tragedy that would, unfortunately, not be the last in this region where beauty and danger are so intimately intertwined. The impact on the local populace, many of whom were perhaps witnessing the growth of air travel with a mixture of awe and apprehension, must have been significant. The sight of an aircraft, a symbol of human ambition and progress, being brought down so dramatically, would have been a sobering spectacle. It brought home the reality that the conquest of the skies was not without its sacrifices, and that each successful flight was a triumph over considerable odds. For Indian Airlines, and indeed for the nascent Royal Nepal Airlines Corporation, which was to be formed a few years later, this incident would have been a matter of deep concern. It highlighted the operational challenges specific to Kathmandu, the high altitude of the airport affecting aircraft performance, the complex wind patterns funneling through the valleys, and the ever-present loom of the surrounding high ground that demanded meticulous flight planning and execution. The memory of this 1955 crash, though perhaps overshadowed by later larger incidents, remains a poignant chapter in Nepal's aviation history. It speaks of a time of bold endeavor, of pushing boundaries, but also of the steep learning curve associated with operating aircraft in one of the world's most demanding airspaces. The lessons gleaned from such early tragedies, however painful, formed the foundational knowledge upon which future safety protocols would be built. The loss of those 14 souls was a stark introduction to the responsibilities that came with knitting Nepal into the global air network. It was a call for greater understanding of the local meteorological phenomena, for improvements in aircraft maintenance and pilot training tailored to these specific conditions, and for a relentless pursuit of safety that must always be paramount in the realm of flight. As we reflect on this first recorded tragedy, we are reminded that progress often walks hand in hand with risk. The courage of those early aviators and passengers paved the way for the bustling air hub that Kathmandu has become. Yet their story also serves as a perpetual reminder of the respect that these majestic yet formidable mountains command from all who venture into their domain by air. The year 1992 remains etched in the annals of Nepalese aviation as a period of profound and unparalleled sorrow. Within the span of just a few months, two catastrophic accidents involving international carriers would shake the nation and the global aviation community to its core. The second of these, and the most fatal air disaster in Nepal's history, was the crash of Pakistan International Airlines Flight 268 on the 28th of September, a day that ended in unimaginable tragedy for 167 souls. The aircraft involved was an Airbus A300B-4203, a wide-body jetliner, a symbol of modern aviation capable of carrying a large number of passengers over significant distances. Registered APBCP, it was operating a scheduled international flight from Jinnah International Airport in Karachi, Pakistan, to Tribhuvan International Airport in Kathmandu. On board were 155 passengers from various nations including Nepal, Pakistan, Spain, and the United Kingdom, alongside a dedicated crew of 12, all anticipating a safe arrival in the vibrant Nepali capital. The approach to Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport is notoriously challenging, a fact well understood by aviators worldwide. It requires a carefully orchestrated descent, navigating through a series of waypoints or gates in the mountainous terrain that surrounds the valley. The procedure, known as the Sierra Vor DME approach, demands precision, constant situational awareness, and strict adherence to prescribed altitudes at each stage, as the margin for error is terrifyingly slim. On that fateful September day, as PIA Flight 268 commenced its descent, the weather conditions were reportedly cloudy, with drizzle and overcast skies, further complicating an already demanding task. The flight crew was in contact with Kathmandu Air Traffic Control, proceeding with the instrument approach. However, somewhere in the intricate ballet of navigation and descent, a critical misjudgment occurred. The aircraft tragically was flying significantly below its correct glide slope profile. Instead of maintaining the safe altitudes required to clear the Mahabharat range, which guards the southern rim of the Kathmandu Valley, the Airbus A300 found itself on a collision course with the terrain. The pilots, it is believed, may have misinterpreted their position relative to the airport, or misread the approach chart, leading them to descend prematurely. The chilling reality is that they were flying blind into a wall of mountains, unaware of the imminent peril. The final moments of Flight 268 are too harrowing to fully comprehend. The aircraft impacted the Bat Danda, a steep, cloud-shrouded hillside near the village of Lele, approximately 16 nautical miles south of Kathmandu, at an altitude of around 7,300 feet. The impact was catastrophic, instantly claiming the lives of all 167 people on board. There were no survivors, no chance of escape from the violent disintegration of the aircraft upon the unforgiving slopes. The news of the crash sent shockwaves across Nepal and reverberated globally. The sheer scale of the loss was overwhelming. Rescue teams, hampered by the remote location, difficult terrain, and poor weather, faced an arduous task reaching the crash site. What they found was a scene of utter devastation, a scar upon the mountainside where a modern marvel of engineering had been reduced to scattered wreckage, and where so many lives had been extinguished in an instant. The investigation that followed was extensive, involving authorities from Nepal, Pakistan, and France, as the country of the aircraft's manufacture. The flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, the so-called black boxes, were recovered and analyzed. The findings pointed towards a controlled flight into terrain, CFIE, an accident wherein a fully airworthy aircraft, under the control of the pilots, is inadvertently flown into the ground, water, or an obstacle. The primary cause was attributed to pilot error, specifically descending too early and failing to adhere to the step-down altitude specified in the approach procedure. Contributing factors may have included the complexity of the approach itself, potential misunderstandings in communication, and perhaps a degree of fixation or loss of situational awareness in challenging weather conditions. The disaster highlighted the critical need for precision and unwavering discipline when navigating such treacherous aerial pathways. The human cost was immense. Families across continents were plunged into mourning. The victims were tourists, mountaineers, diplomats, business people, and Nepalese citizens returning home. Each life lost represented a universe of connections, dreams, and aspirations, all tragically cut short on that remote mountainside. The recovery and identification of victims was a grim and heart-wrenching process for all involved. The crash of PIA Flight 268, occurring just 59 days after another major accident involving a Thai Airways A310 in the same region, served as a brutal wake-up call. It underscored, with devastating clarity, the vulnerabilities of Kathmandu's airport to such tragedies and prompted urgent calls for enhanced safety measures, including better navigational aids, improved air traffic control procedures, and more rigorous training for crews operating into this uniquely challenging environment. Barely 2 months before the devastating crash of Pakistan International Airlines Flight 268, another major international airline experienced a catastrophic accident while on approach to Kathmandu, sending shockwaves through the aviation world and leaving an indelible mark of sorrow. On July 31, 1992, Thai Airways International Flight 311, an Airbus A310-304, vanished from radar screens, initiating a desperate search that would ultimately confirm the worst fears for the 113 souls aboard. The aircraft, registered HS Thai and named Buri Ram, was en route from Don Mueang International Airport in Bangkok, Thailand, a routine flight path for the well-regarded carrier. On board were 99 passengers and a crew of 14, a diverse group of travelers including tourists eager to explore Nepal's natural beauty and cultural heritage, mountaineers drawn by the allure of the Himalayas, and Nepalese nationals returning to their homeland. The Airbus A310 was a modern and sophisticated aircraft, and Thai Airways enjoyed a strong reputation for safety and service. As Flight 311 approached Kathmandu, it encountered the typical challenges associated with this high-altitude destination: complex mountainous terrain and monsoon weather conditions, which often include heavy cloud cover and reduced visibility. The crew, consisting of an experienced captain and first officer, was navigating the standard approach procedure. However, communications with Kathmandu's air traffic control revealed a growing sense of uncertainty and difficulty in managing the aircraft's path. According to the investigation reports that meticulously pieced together the events, the flight encountered a problem with the inboard trailing edge flaps after they were selected to the 1530 position during the approach. This technical issue, while not catastrophic in itself, may have served as a distraction and increased the crew's workload at a critical phase of flight. The crew requested a diversion to Calcutta due to this technical problem and concerns about their ability to execute the approach into Kathmandu successfully. However, before the diversion could be executed, and after some confusing exchanges with air traffic control regarding their position and intentions, the flight path became erratic. The aircraft, instead of proceeding south towards Calcutta, or re-attempting the approach to Kathmandu from a safe position, inexplicably turned northwards, flying directly towards the high Himalayan peaks that lie to the north of the Kathmandu Valley, far from the intended flight path. The reasons for this fatal deviation have been subject to much analysis. It's believed that a combination of factors including the initial technical issue, challenging weather, potential disorientation, and perhaps a breakdown in crew resource management led the pilots to lose situational awareness. They may have become confused about their actual geographical position relative to the airport and the surrounding terrain, a perilous state when flying in such an unforgiving environment. The aircraft continued its northward track, climbing in an apparent attempt to clear obstacles, but it was flying into an area where the mountains rise dramatically to extreme altitudes. The last radio contact with the flight indicated ongoing confusion. Tragically, Thai Airways Flight 311 slammed into a remote, steep mountainside in the Langtang National Park, approximately 37 kilometers north of Kathmandu, at an altitude of around 11,500 feet. The impact was incredibly violent, and all 113 people on board perished. The search for the missing aircraft was arduous, conducted in treacherous terrain and poor weather. When the wreckage was finally located, it painted a grim picture of a high-speed impact in an area far removed from any standard flight path to Kathmandu. The discovery brought a heartbreaking end to days of anxious waiting for the families and friends of those on board, confirming a tragedy of immense proportions for both Nepal and Thailand. The investigation, led by Nepalese authorities with assistance from Thai and French investigators, delved deep into the cockpit voice recordings and flight data. The findings pointed to a loss of situational awareness by the flight crew, compounded by the technical fault with the flaps and the challenging operational environment. The report highlighted issues with the clarity of communication between the crew and air traffic control, and the crew's apparent deviation from standard procedures when faced with uncertainty. This accident, occurring so close in time to the PIA disaster, underscored the urgent need for systemic improvements. It highlighted the dangers of complex approach procedures in mountainous terrain, especially when coupled with technical malfunctions or adverse weather. The loss of a reputable airline's modern jet with an experienced crew served as a stark reminder that no carrier was immune to the unique risks posed by Kathmandu's airport if vigilance and precision were compromised. The impact on Thai Airways was significant, prompting internal reviews of its procedures and training for flights into such demanding airports. For Nepal, it was another devastating blow, further cementing the perception of its primary airport as one of the world's most dangerous. The combined weight of these two major crashes in 1992 would become a catalyst for long overdue safety enhancements, including the eventual installation of radar systems. The memory of Thai Airways Flight 311 endures as a somber lesson in aviation safety. It speaks to the critical importance of maintaining spatial orientation, effective crew coordination, and clear communication, especially when navigating the narrow aerial corridors defined by the world's highest mountains. The silent, snow-capped peaks of Langtang became an unintended final resting place for 113 individuals, their story a poignant reminder of the delicate dance between human ambition and the formidable power of nature. The year 1992, with its twin calamities of Thai Airways Flight 311 and Pakistan International Airlines Flight 268, stands as a watershed moment in the history of aviation safety in Nepal. The sheer scale of loss, with a combined total of 280 lives extinguished within just 59 days, was a blow from which the nation and the international aviation community could not simply recover and move on. These events, horrific as they were, became undeniable catalysts, forcing a reckoning with the inherent dangers of operating into Tribhuvan International Airport and compelling authorities to implement significant, long-overdue changes. Prior to these incidents, Kathmandu's airport, while acknowledged as challenging, operated with navigational aids and air traffic control systems that were, by modern standards, relatively basic for such a complex environment. Pilots relied heavily on procedural approaches using VOR, VHF, omnidirectional range, and DME, distance measuring equipment, which required meticulous adherence to altitudes and tracks, often in conditions of limited visibility due to weather or the surrounding high terrain that could block radio signals or create confusing reflections. There was no surveillance radar to allow air traffic controllers to see the aircraft in real time on their screens. The official investigation report for PIA Flight 268, the more fatal of the two 1992 crashes, explicitly recommended the installation of primary and secondary surveillance radar at Tribhuvan International Airport. This was a crucial recommendation. Radar would provide air traffic controllers with a direct, independent means of monitoring aircraft positions, altitudes, and speeds, enabling them to provide more effective guidance, issue timely warnings if an aircraft deviated from its cleared path or descended prematurely, and manage traffic flow with greater safety and efficiency. The absence of radar meant that controllers were largely dependent on pilot position reports which, as tragically demonstrated, could sometimes be inaccurate due to disorientation or misinterpretation of instruments. In a landscape where mountains rise abruptly and weather can change rapidly, this lack of independent verification of an aircraft's trajectory was a significant vulnerability. The PIA A300, for instance, had reported being at certain waypoints while in reality, it was significantly below the correct altitude profile, a deviation that radar might have detected. The international outcry and the stark findings of the accident investigations placed immense pressure on the Nepalese government and civil aviation authorities to act. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, and other international bodies also lent their expertise and support, emphasizing the need for an upgraded infrastructure to meet global safety standards, particularly for an airport with such unique geographical constraints. The cost of inaction was too tragically high to ignore any longer. Thus, the process of acquiring and installing a modern radar system for Kathmandu began. This was not a simple or inexpensive undertaking. It involved selecting appropriate technology capable of functioning effectively in a mountainous region, training personnel to operate and maintain the new systems, and developing new air traffic control procedures that would integrate radar surveillance. The project, funded with assistance from international development agencies, represented a major step forward. Beyond the installation of radar, the 1992 crashes prompted a comprehensive review of approach and departure procedures for Kathmandu. Existing procedures were scrutinized for potential ambiguities or points of high workload for pilots. Efforts were made to simplify them where possible, to provide clearer guidance, and to emphasize critical altitude restrictions. The importance of stabilized approaches, being correctly configured on speed and on the correct flight path well before reaching the runway threshold, was re-emphasized. Airlines operating into Kathmandu also re-evaluated their own training programs. Pilots received more specialized simulator training focusing on the unique challenges of the TIA approaches, including scenarios involving system malfunctions, adverse weather, and disorientation. Crew resource management, CRM training, which focuses on effective communication, teamwork, and decision-making in the cockpit, was given renewed emphasis, recognizing that human factors often play a critical role in aviation accidents. Furthermore, there was a push for improved meteorological services, providing pilots with more accurate and timely weather information, crucial for making informed decisions in a region known for its rapidly changing conditions. The availability of real-time weather data, including wind shear alerts and visibility reports from various points around the airport, could significantly enhance situational awareness. The impact of these changes, implemented progressively over the years following the 1992 tragedies, has been tangible. While Kathmandu remains a challenging airport, the addition of radar surveillance has undoubtedly provided a crucial layer of safety. Controllers can now see aircraft, offer more proactive assistance, and maintain better separation. Pilots too benefit from this enhanced oversight, knowing that there is another set of eyes monitoring their progress. These safety transformations, born from immense sorrow, serve as a testament to the aviation industry's capacity to learn from its mistakes. The ghosts of Thai Flight 311 and PIA Flight 268 linger, not just as memories of loss, but as enduring reminders of the imperative to continually strive for higher safety standards. The mountains surrounding Kathmandu remain as formidable as ever, but the tools and procedures used to navigate them have evolved, thanks in no small part to the hard lessons learned in that dark year. Despite the significant safety enhancements implemented over the decades, the skies above Kathmandu remain a domain where vigilance can never be relaxed. The inherent challenges of terrain and weather persist, and the human element in aviation, with its potential for error and misjudgment, continues to be a critical factor. A stark reminder of this enduring reality came on March 12, 2018, with the tragic crash of US-Bangla Airlines Flight 211, an event that once again plunged Nepal into mourning and raised pressing questions about aviation safety in the region. The aircraft involved was a Bombardier Q400, a twin-engine turboprop, registered S2AGU. It was operating a scheduled international passenger flight from Shah Jalal International Airport in Dhaka, Bangladesh, to Tribhuvan International Airport. On board were 67 passengers and 4 crew members. For many, it was a journey of leisure, business, or study, filled with the usual anticipation of arrival. The flight itself had been uneventful until it commenced its approach into the Kathmandu Valley. What transpired in the final minutes of Flight 211 was a deeply unsettling sequence of events, characterized by confusion, miscommunication, and an increasingly erratic flight path. The cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder, recovered from the wreckage, provided a chilling narrative of the crew's struggle to align the aircraft for landing, and a disturbing breakdown in standard operating procedures and airmanship. The crew initially received clearance to land on runway 02, approaching from the south, but then seemed to become disoriented, requesting to land on runway 20, approaching from the north. There were prolonged and confusing exchanges between the pilots and air traffic control regarding their intentions and their actual position. At one point, the aircraft was observed flying at a very low altitude, far from the runway centerline, causing alarm among controllers and observers on the ground. The captain, who was the pilot flying, appeared to be under considerable stress, exhibiting emotional distress and making erratic control inputs. The first officer, despite attempts to intervene or clarify the situation, seemed unable to effectively correct the hazardous course of action. The aircraft made a series of unusual maneuvers, deviating significantly from the standard approach path for either runway, and at one point even flying perilously close to the terminal building and other parked aircraft. Ultimately, in a desperate and unstable attempt to land on runway 02, the Bombardier Q400 touched down far from the threshold, veered off the runway, skidded across the airfield, crashed through the airport perimeter fence, and came to rest in a fiery heap on rough ground near the Bagmati River. The impact and subsequent inferno were horrific. Of the 71 people on board, 51 lost their lives, while 20 miraculously survived, though many with severe injuries. The immediate aftermath was chaotic, with emergency services rushing to the scene to battle the blaze and rescue survivors. The sight of the burning wreckage against the backdrop of the Himalayas was a deeply distressing image broadcast around the world, once again casting a shadow over Tribhuvan International Airport. Questions arose immediately. How could such an accident happen in relatively clear weather conditions, with a modern aircraft, and at an airport equipped with radar? The official investigation report, released by the Nepalese government's Aircraft Accident Investigation Commission, pointed primarily to the probable cause being pilot disorientation and a complete loss of situational awareness on the part of the flight crew. The report detailed the captain's agitated state, his disregard for standard procedures, and his persistence in attempting a landing despite the dangerously unstable approach. It also noted issues with crew resource management, where the first officer was unable to effectively challenge or take over control from the captain. The investigation highlighted a series of deviations from established protocols, including incorrect runway alignment, flying below minimum safe altitudes, and a general failure to follow air traffic control instructions coherently. The tragedy underscored the critical importance of pilot mental fitness, adherence to standard operating procedures, and effective communication and assertiveness within the cockpit, especially in high-pressure situations or challenging environments like Kathmandu. The US-Bangla Airlines crash served as a painful reminder that even with improved infrastructure like radar, the human factor remains a paramount concern in aviation safety. Technology can aid, but it cannot entirely compensate for lapses in judgment, skill, or adherence to procedure. It prompted renewed discussions about pilot training, psychological screening, and the reinforcement of CRM principles across airlines operating in the region. For the survivors and the families of those who perished, the crash left indelible scars. It was a tragedy that cut short lives and dreams, and for those who witnessed it or were involved in the rescue, it was a harrowing experience. The incident once again put TIA's safety record under international scrutiny, emphasizing the continuous need for rigorous oversight and a proactive safety culture among all stakeholders. The echoes of past tragedies seem to reverberate in the aftermath of Flight 211. While the specific causes differed from the accidents of 1992, the common thread was the unforgiving nature of this operational environment when human fallibility enters the equation. It demonstrated that the quest for aviation safety is a perpetual journey requiring constant learning, adaptation, and an unwavering commitment to preventing such devastating events from ever happening again. The history of aviation at Kathmandu's Tribhuvan International Airport is, as we have seen, a narrative woven with threads of remarkable achievement and profound sorrow. The very mountains that bestow upon Nepal its breathtaking beauty also present an enduring, formidable challenge to those who navigate its skies. Each incident we have explored, from the earliest days to more recent times, carries with it solemn lessons written in sacrifice learned through meticulous investigation and hopefully applied with unwavering diligence to protect future lives. The pursuit of safety in such a demanding environment is not a destination, but a continuous journey of adaptation and improvement. The stories of these tragic events serve as a powerful reminder of the responsibility that rests upon the shoulders of the entire aviation ecosystem, from pilots and air traffic controllers to engineers, regulators, and airline management. It is a collective duty to honor the memory of those lost by fostering a culture where safety is paramount, where lessons from the past inform the practices of the present, and where technological advancements are coupled with the highest standards of human performance and vigilance. The majestic Himalayas stand as silent witnesses, urging us to always approach their domain with the utmost respect and preparedness. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. Stay safe and see you in the next video. We hope this exploration has offered not just a recounting of unfortunate events, but also a deeper appreciation for the complexities of flight in this unique part of the world and the unceasing efforts to make the skies above it safer for all who journey here. The spirit of exploration and connection that aviation embodies must always be guided by an unshakable commitment to safety.